Hi, my name's Addison Huddy. I'm one of the contributors on Apache Geode. Today we're going to talk about something that we haven't talked about before, and that's the Geo Native project. It's one of the kind of sub-projects of Apache Geode. And why is it called native? Well, that's because the client doesn't require the JVM to run. It runs natively on the machine without the JVM. So it's a client library that provides both C++ and .NET APIs, and it's scheduled to be released in Apache Geode 1.8. That's the target. So we're going to take a look at the examples that are included in the project, and some of the first thing we got to do is we got to build it. Some of the ways that it's built and how to get started with it. So first thing you got to do is clone this thing. I've already done that. So git clone the project. The project kind of lives here. The code isn't in Apache Geode. It's in its own repository, but it's released with Apache Geode. So Apache Geode is about to have its 1.7 release, and this part will be included in the 1.8 release. There hasn't been an official release, but we're going to check out the latest that this project has on develop and what's been going on with it, because the team has been hard at work on this client, updating it to a lot of the C++ 11 standards. The client I think was ahead of its time in a lot of ways, because it had its own versions of shared pointer, and the C++ community has come a long way in the last 5 years and really standardized. And we're bringing this client up to spec with what the latest the community has adopted. So first thing we gotta do, we cloned it. Now we're gonna build it. So there is a file in here called building. The project uses CMake, so we're going to need a pretty recent version of CMake, Doxygen if we want to build the docs, pretty recent compiler, and we also need Apache Geode. So you need to go out, you need to install Apache Geode and set an environment variable called Geode Home. So if I go in here and what I do, because I switch around between a lot of versions of Geode, is I have this little folder called Geode in use, and I point Geode Home to that. So per the steps, we're going to first make a directory called build. We've already done that. Let's go into build, and there's nothing there. So now we need to run the configuration step, and we're going to need, this is pretty important here. So CMake, and then we're pointing up to the CMake files in the previous UPA directory. And we're going to configure this in a way that we're telling CMake to install it in a different location than default. I found that you run into a lot of user kind of permission problems when not picking something besides the default. There's open tickets about this on the CMake project, but this is what I found. So I'm going to pass this into home, and then my home, Dropbox, Codebox, Geode, and I'm going to call this Geode Native install. So let's configure. All right, what did I do wrong there? Looks like I need to first make the directory. So let's pop up here really quick. Let's make the directory Geode Native install. Oh, it already exists. Well, you can see I've done this before. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of our current installation and just do this again. You can see I've done run-throughs of this. All right, so let's go back down to Geo Native, and back into that build directory, cmake d, and we want to pass in cmake install prefix. And let's pass in that path. There we go. Okay, so that is found geode. It's running a bunch of configuration steps. Now we get to run it. So cmake -- build, and we'll pass in a few parameters. Let's give it a fair number of cores to work with, and we're off. Okay, now that that's built, we can go ahead and tell cmake to install what we built. So we are, we just built everything. We're in the same location, and we do cmake build, and we're going to run target. First thing we'll do is we're going to install the docs. So that's putting the docs in the location that we specified earlier. Run the same thing, and we'll do install. Cool. Now, let's pop up to that install directory. So Geode Native install. Cool. So, this has lib, include, and a bunch of examples. The cool thing about this project, just like with the Java client, the best way to learn is by example. So a bunch of examples, and the community is always adding more. We're going to build one and run it. First thing we're going to do is we need to tell we need to tell cmake where to find Geode Native. So we put Geode Native here. So that's our Geode Native. So let's just quickly export Geode Native home to this location so cmake can find it. All right, so we have two environment variables here. We have Geode home there and Geode Native home. All right, so we need those two environment variables to continue. That is set. Now, let's look at how to build these things. First thing we need to do is we're gonna do a bunch of stuff to our examples directory here that is there. Let's just copy and paste that directory. So examples, and let's put that up at Geode Native examples. Let's put that there. So let's go up and we'll go over to Geo Native examples. All right, so let's go into CPP, and let's look at put get remove. So put get remove, that's like the hello world of Geode, and let's take a look really quick at what's in here. So just a couple includes, these header files. We're going to use cache factory. We're going to create a pool, a region, and we need region shortcut. So just one main method. We're using the Apache Geode client namespace. So it's very similar to the Java client, but there's some differences for sure because of the differences in the language. So cache factory, we're setting the log level. We're creating our cache using that factory, creating a pool. We're adding a locator to that pool. we create the pool using that pool factory. We name it pool. We're using the region shortcut to create a proxy region. We are setting the pool on a region called example user info. We're going to go then and store a user ID in that region. So we're just region.put or region put. This is a pointer. And then we're going to do a get and print that all to standard out and close the cache. Pretty simple. So to build this, we're going to create a build directory. Before we do that, there's two scripts in here that you can see, start server and stop server. Let's just, that's really similar to kind of what we've seen on the Java side. This goes in, looks for Geode home. It starts a locator, starts a server, creates a partition region by the name that matches what we just saw. So pretty simple. Now let's build that. Let's make a directory. Let's cmake and ... So that just wrote some stuff to this directory. And cmake build, and this shouldn't be too big, so we can just kind of run this. All right, so that just got built, and we can see that we have a binary there that we can run. So first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna pop up here. Let's just run this start server script, and we'll run that. So that's gonna tell gfish to start a locator, server, create a region, and should be good. All right, now that's done. Let's go down and we'll go to build, and let's just run put get remove. Awesome. So storing user the ID and username, printed those out, and we can connect to gfish and see that those values are actually there. And that's how you get started with the Geode Native and the C++ API. We're definitely going to look at the .NET API and a couple of other examples and look at the differences between the Java and C++ clients. So hope that was helpful, and I'll talk to you next week.